Welcome to the How to Health podcast. I'm Dr. Lori Marvis, and today I'm so excited to have a second appearance from the lovely Merrilee Jacobs and Paul Kennemer. How are you guys today?
We're doing great, and it's good to see you.
Thank you. And you guys are from Eating You Alive. Paul was the director, and you guys co-produced this documentary, which originally came out in the fall of 2016, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And so
pre-release screenings then, but yeah.
Pre-release screening. And so now we're going to talk about just kind of your story again and revisit it and kind of where we're headed now with Eating You Alive, because there's some very exciting things happening next week that everyone should stay tuned for and think about. And I am beyond excited. But since you guys were only my very second podcast interview, and I felt like I was interviewing stars, it's like so cool. And I was like,
just plain old people.
No, you guys are awesome. So I was just so tickled. I was like, I got to interview them. It was so awesome. So, and here you guys again. So thank you again for taking time out of your day to let me talk to you. And that means a lot. And so we can get started. Where was Eating You Alive born from? Because every great idea and creation has a start. So where was that for you?
We actually met with Dr. Mike Holly in Chattanooga. And a couple of people that work with him in a program called Dinner with the Doctor. And they get together once a month at the beginning of every month, and they put a seminar program for people and teach them about eating whole food plant-based. And so we knew nothing about that type of a lifestyle or anything. And so like I said, we met on a Sunday morning. They told us about what they were doing because they were wanting us to provide some assets to help them with their seminar program. So as they talked us through it, they said, it will reverse disease and all these different benefits that come from it. And I thought, Merrilee, I left there. And of course, honestly, I'm very skeptical, so I didn't believe it, to be honest. But I thought, what do I have to lose? So I'd love to try this. My problem is I can't cook. So I called Merrilee and I said, Merrilee, would you be interested in doing this? And she said, yeah, I'll help you. I'll do it with you. So I said, great. I watched Forks Over Knives that evening. And I said, I got to do this. I got to give it a shot just to see, because my dad had a heart attack, stroke, bypass surgery, all those types of things that so many Americans, we all kind of deal with in our families. And so Merrilee said she'd go along with it. So we went in the next day to our company, whole production team, and said, guys, we want to try something. Would you guys like to join us? And they said, yeah. So we all kind of went down this path as a group. And it changed our lives, every one of us. And for me personally, my biggest thing was in 6 weeks, I dropped 45 pounds, went back to my high school weight. After 3 weeks, I had lost, I had tendonitis in both elbows. And in our profession, that's not a good thing. Both elbows, I had rotator cuff issues. I couldn't run anymore, so I wasn't able to exercise. In 3 weeks, all that was gone. And of course, I didn't give credence to the diet because I didn't think that was possible. But in retrospect, obviously, I know that's what it was. So it changed my life. Merrilee has got hers first, but our whole production team lost around 500 pounds.
Wow.
And again, weight loss is not, as we all know, weight loss is not necessarily the goal here, the end goal, but it's just sort of a byproduct. And it was phenomenal. I mean, with your skin and all these different things, you just transform your body, your mind, and soul. So that was one of the greatest things. And so it put us on this path to where this is a story that we've got to tell, but we didn't want to make it about us because I wouldn't believe me. I had to have physicians telling us these stories. I think people that had gone through these massive changes in reverse diseases. And so that's what we did. We went on a mission of going out and as a producer and located these people and brought these people in and we were able to interview them. That was the birth of Eating You Alive.
That is incredible. So now you also had extended family have benefits as well, right? Your sister in particular?
My sister reversed her rheumatoid arthritis after 9 months of living this way. She had been diagnosed at 8 years of age and had been on medication since that point, and she would have been mid-50s. And for the first time since age 8, she was off all medications and was able to actually go out and play with her grandson in the snow at 10 o'clock at night and get up in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and exercise and work out instead of taking an hour for her body to wake up and feel like she could move around. So it just changed her life. My mother She thought I was crazy, was scared that I had cancer because I was dropping weight so fast. You know how that goes. But after she went to the doctor and found out that she had over 50% blockage in her carotid artery. So at that point, she said, I think I'm going to give this a try, because she was scared. And so she did. And almost 3 months to the day of changing her lifestyle, she went back and literally went back, and her reversed the disease. It was less than 20% blockage in 3 months. So that really made a serious believer out of her, of course. And it just, again, it undergirded all our thought process that we had all had. And so it's very rewarding. And so it's impacted my children and far beyond within my family.
Cool. And Merrilee, how about you?
I don't have as dramatic a story to tell, because I didn't lose 45 pounds. I didn't have that much to lose. But
she wasn't fat like
I didn't. I'm not going to say that. But I did drop about 15 pounds and go back to, my high school weight. And she's now 19, but my 19-year-old daughter and she's like skinny as a beanpole. Much taller than I am, mind you, but we're about the same size now. So it's kind of fun, when she comes home, she goes, "Oh, hey, Mom, can I borrow this out of your closet?" Oh, only if I can borrow something of yours, So, that's a very cool thing. But aside from that, I was having more issues with just kind of fatigue and skin, skin issues, particularly with dairy. My thing was dairy. Love cheese. I was a closet cheese eater as well as just eating it out in the open. So like anywhere I could have it, I would have it. But when I ate dairy, I was noticing some digestive issues and some gastrointestinal issues. That's a mouthful. And then my face would break out. Like, within an hour or so, I would start getting these little bumps, underneath the skin that were sore. It was just kind of crazy. And of course, all of that went away, And my dad had a heart attack as well, scared us to death. He was, I think, if I remember correctly, he had like 85% blockage on the back, on the artery that feeds it from the back that they couldn't stent, and then a 90% blockage on the front. And they did stent that one. But he just went, and it's been 5 years, he just went back to his cardiologist, and they did like this full workup on him and checked him out, scanned him, whatever. And there's absolutely no plaque in any of his arteries. It's gone. And so he was like, "That's crazy," right? And his cardiologist said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I just changed the way I'm eating." And he's like, "No." Yes, So he's like, "Well, what are you eating?" So Dad tells him, he goes, "Man, that's all right. You're like, my dad is
81.
Yeah, 81. My dad's 81. So wow. That was really cool. And I think, just seeing how it's impacted different family members has been very affirming and confirming of our decision to do this. And the film itself is very rewarding to see people watch the film and be inspired to make the change, because that's really all we wanted anyway. That it was really that trigger point. We wanted to be somewhat impactful in some small way to lead people down the path, to let them make this decision on their own and then experience those results. And it's been very rewarding from that perspective.
I can only imagine when you have, because you have far-reaching consequences and ripple effects of all of this. So that's just, I know when I hear stories of patients that we have helped from years ago and then they help someone, that's really cool. So I can only imagine, even since the beginning when you guys have released it, what are some of your favorite stories that you've heard? What incredible recoveries or reversal disease have you come across?
Yeah, that's so cool, because people are emailing us now, the ones who saw the film and that few of the pre-release screenings that were out there. We had one gentleman named Carl. Carl, I love you if you're listening to this. But he came and saw a screening where we were doing one at Sundance Cinema in LA a year ago this last December. And he and his sister, I guess, hadn't been to the theater forever. He said he never went to the theater. And his daughter-in-law, I of got into talking about how she made some pizza crust with cauliflower or whatever, and he was fascinated by that. And he had tons of medical issues, cardiovascular disease. I believe he had multiple stents and issues, and had some issues with being able to breathe. He couldn't really go out and exercise. You know, he just didn't have it in him. And that led to, you know, other issues. You get depressed when you're in that state. You can't really enjoy life and live life.
And he was accepting the fact that his life was the way it was. You know how that.
Yeah, and it was over.
He was going to be limited from this point on with what he could do in his life because his health was obviously just acting.
So I spent a little time talking to him after that screening and Q&A. And you know, some people get it and they go for it. And he did. And the next day he said, that's when he started. The next day he started, he jumped in all the way. It wasn't any wading in the water, doing slow transitional things. He dove all in. And he started emailing us and sending us his updates on his lab reports and things. And I kept tabs on him, and he reversed everything, got off all of his medications, lost weight, was feeling better, would tell me that he was now walking, 3 miles a day or whatever. And then there was a period of time where I didn't talk to him for a while, hadn't heard from him. I reached out to him to say, hey, how are you doing? And I started getting a little concerned, And after about 2 weeks, and I'd sent him a couple of emails, I get this email back, and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He said, I've been on the road. I felt so good. I decided I was going to move out of LA and move to Las Vegas. And I've been spending a couple of weeks just tootling around Utah and seeing all these great sites because I never was able to do that before. And now I've been living what I never thought I'd be able to do ever. And it's been such a dream. And thank you very much. It's like, we didn't do that. You did all that. We were the vehicles for the message. But that's just one story. There's another one, a lovely lady who is in Salt Lake City. And I believe she worked with us at a screening there. I don't know, she had something to do with the projection or assistant manager there. But when we did the screening, she came and watched. And then she brought her parents and husband the next night. And she decided to do the same thing, turn her life around. And she's sent us a few emails and now some pictures where she's lost like 100 pounds. And, she's so excited. She goes hiking now regularly and loves to hike, and people have a hard time keeping up with her, and that's just crazy, to hear stories like that. It makes you feel so good about, the effort that you put into wanting to do just that, but it actually comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's really cool. So you collectively lost 500 pounds.
About around 500 pounds as a team, yeah.
So how many people is that actually?
Was it 6 people? Yeah, 6 people, 500 pounds. Yeah, and then the funny thing about it is I wouldn't have, this makes sense, I wouldn't have looked at our team and thought, we're really, we're pretty obese people here. But the reality of it is we kind of were. And I never thought of it, because you just sort of get in this frame of mind that we're supposed to be, when you get older, you're supposed to carry some extra weight. That's just normal. And I had no idea that I could lose 45 pounds effortlessly and feel so much better. I had no idea that I had that much spare weight. So.
Actually, and speaking to that, I think this is what we've noticed, and it's sad from one perspective, because I know people are very sensitive to what they term fat shaming now. So I'm not speaking to fat shaming. We should never make fun of people or anything like that, because everybody's struggling with things. But here's what I've noticed, and that is I think our society has become so, I don't know if it's our mindset or our view is perverted in this way because we've been so abnormal for so long that we look at abnormal and think that's normal now. But in all commercials now and clothing stores and things, it's always the larger woman, clothing. You're starting to see people of a more abnormal weight, from a health perspective, be put out there and this being accepted as being normal. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a really frightening place to be, because it's not about the weight you carry, it's what the indication of that weight that you carry, what it means for your body, for your organs, for your joints, and what other things are going on in the body with the carrying of that extra weight. It's a side effect of what's going on inside. And I think what's scary is that we're starting to accept this as being normal, and there's nothing wrong with it, and we're actually starting to promote it now as being just accepted. And the fact of the matter is, what we're accepting is that there's something going on there that may not exhibit itself as a problem right now, but down the road, it's going to be a host of chronic illness issues and diseases that are going to incapacitate that person. And I think it's something we're not really looking at and talking about right now, but it's very much an issue, I think.
I would 100% agree, even 110%, because as a physician, I see the side effects of someone carrying around even extra 20 pounds, much less 40, 50, 60. And I'm all about people acceptance. You have a scar, you have disfigurement, whatever, you carry the 20 pounds. You know what? The problem is, though, that tells me that you're at higher risk for early death. You're at higher risk for type 2 diabetes, cancers, heart disease, stroke. All of those things start stacking up against you with the extra weight. And you're exactly right. People go to you, you're just too thin. You don't look healthy. It's like, no, healthy is the weight that, a normal weight that a human's supposed to carry around. You don't walk around in nature and see other animals obese and eating, they don't have those problems. They don't go to it's not normal to be on medications. Some people get very offensive or defensive about it whenever you do bring that up. It's not normal to be on chronic pain medications. It's not normal to have type 2 diabetes or heart disease. These things are not normal. And to accept it means that we're going to accept a life less lived. And that's how I see it, but 100%. So I'm all about the positive message, but geez, come on. We got to be realistic too. So,
well, I think it's hard. I think we get defensive because people don't like to think that they've done this to themselves. It's easier. We live in a society too that wants to blame everybody else for our ills. And it's hard to accept responsibility. We don't want to do that. And I think that's why when you start talking about food-related illnesses, such as all chronic diseases at this point, you get really defensive about it because, people get angry and said, so, what are you saying, that I did this to myself? Well, yeah, I am saying that you did it to yourself, but you did it unknowingly. And that's where we're trying to get to. It's not like anybody would want to do such damage to themselves or their children or anybody else. There's no need to feel guilty about that, but we need to feel empowered to do something different. And I think that's the message.
I think for me, my first step was accepting the fact that I was addicted to food. That's what I had to do. I mean, for me, that was a mental block that I didn't want to accept because I looked at an addiction as a weakness in people, but not realizing that, my goodness, I was incredibly addicted to sugar, to sweets. That was my big downfall. And first of all, I have to accept that before I can begin to look at myself a little more clearly and realize I better see this for what it is and begin to take care of it. And that's what, I didn't want to see myself in that way, but that's the way it was. The way it could easily be if I want to go back.
I think you're right. I think it's, and I think that's part of the reason why some doctors do not share this message, because they see themselves, right? They're like, well, I don't eat a plant-based diet. I have cheese addiction. I'm a closet cheese eater and things like I was. And that means that they would have to change. So that's hard to look into your face and say, wow, or you have an issue, or whoever you are has an issue. So which brings me to the title, because I've had a few people ask this. How did you get the title Eating You Alive? I mean, where did that inspiration come from?
That was all Merrilee. That was Merrilee.
Well,
I can't take credit for that.
Somebody had to accept the craziness. But, literally, when you talk about a process, we sat down, all of us on the team. This is how we do it in our team. We all sat down and we just drew out ideas. We were really brainstorming, looking to land on that title that would be attention grabbing, something that would draw intrigue, but have meaning, and so we all threw out a ton of ideas and just started going through and narrowing them down, and until we landed on Eating You Alive. And in all honesty, there were a couple of members on the team that weren't really crazy about that title at all. I think it grew on them. but it was really meant to be a double entendre. You know, you could take it both ways, and that leaves people to interpret it and to whatever perspective is intriguing to them most, you know. For some people who love horror, you know, Eating Evil Alive probably intrigued them from like, oh, I wonder what kind of craziness is going on there. From people who are looking at it from a positive perspective, you know, you literally can eat things that bring you to life. And so that was kind of fun, and it was kind of fun to see how people responded to it and reacted to it. We got a lot of comments, you know, both sides. Some people not so much, and then, you know, that's a terrible title, and then others loving it a lot. I think we actually asked
all the physicians liked the title. They all understood it, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Samuel L. Jackson, when we did his interview, you know, we asked him about that, and he acknowledged that some people might look at that and think it sounded like some sort of zombie movie, with some colorful language, of course, added. But he's so funny. Yeah. But he was the one that said, but this is about eating yourself to life, you know, and so he got it, and I appreciated that he saw the positive perspective of that. And, so he was awesome.
Well, that's a great segue into some of the interviews that you guys had. Tell me about some of your favorite interviews or the moments that you remember and really feel that have an impact for people when they're watching the film.
Well, for people being impacted by the film is one thing. I guess things that impacted me, you know, I don't know that I could solo out one particular. Yeah, for me, honestly, in a very selfish way, it was like a personal journey of just a tutorial from all of these doctors, you know, that have so much knowledge to share. And so I'm getting a first row seat to learning what I need to do for the rest of my life to keep my health in the best possible conditions. So it was a culmination of all that was so special for me. But I do have to say that, and this is Merrilee's doings, but Dr. Barnard was the first physician that came along and said, I'll do this. I'll be interviewed for the documentary. At that point is when we got pretty excited and realized, okay, we may be able to get, because we wanted the Mount Rushmore, you know, we wanted the rock star doctors for the ones that are familiar with this lifestyle. And so when he said, okay, he was so kind, so generous with his time. And again, sitting and listening to him talk about things was so just confirming to what we had heard in Forks Over Knives and these other great films. And so that journey was so good. Yeah.
It really was. And I think one of the more touching interviews for myself was Susan Weineck. You know, listening to her story, and I don't want to give it away for those who haven't seen it. You know, got to come to the theater on April the 5th, you know, to catch her story. But literally, I think listening to her story for me myself, of course, I'm probably more vulnerable to this anyway. But I was in tears, you know, because there's so much. Food is an emotional thing. You know, aside from anything else, I think the enjoyment we get from food is because it taps into our emotions. It connects us with people and memories and just, you know, situations and experiences and friends. And there's so much that's tapped there. And to the opposite as well. I mean, things that are bad, experiences that are bad, traumatic events and things, then we medicate with food. You know, so food is such an emotional thing, but sitting there and hearing her journey and her story and how emotionally just heart-wrenching it was to find herself in the situation she was in and what it meant to her family and her husband. But I think the worst part for me, the part that had me using up the whole box of Kleenex, was to sit and talk with her husband about how it had impacted him, you know, and his take on that. And so I think that was probably one of the most emotionally touching stories for myself, sitting there and interviewing them in that way.
And Susan, it's not in the document. I don't think it made the film, but Susan, she lost her father, and he was 58. He just had a heart attack during the night, and dead right there, and just really. It tore us up as she was sharing her story, but it's
Yeah.
She's great, and she is just absolutely. Do you know Susan yourself?
I don't know. I think we're friends on Facebook. They live in Canada. Do they live in Canada or Washington?
They're in
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
New Jersey,
Yeah.
I think. But you should interview them because they're awesome.
Oh, she is. Absolutely. Her story is phenomenal.
There are so many people. Yeah, and there's just there's
not enough hours. You could be doing this 24/7, and there's not enough hours.
Yeah.
I would say that some of the more fun, just the fun interviews for us as well was Penn Jillette. He's a kick in the shorts, right?
Dan and John Moskowitz from Canada, they were great, and his story is so powerful. Dealing with cancer, that was very impactful for us.
And then too, speaking to some of the other aspects of the benefits of a whole food plant-based lifestyle, we're talking about disease reversal mostly because that's the door through which we walked. We came to this message through the door of health, and still feel like that could be the most powerful connector for our planet. If people would do it because they realized they could reverse their disease, we would no longer have a health crisis. Not here, not anywhere. That would take care of that issue. And that would also solve what some of the other benefits are that bring other people, to the table. And that's like through environment. I think Susie and James Cameron, environment was what was really the key for them. And it was really great to sit and talk with them and interview them and listen to, the basis for why they're so passionate about this message. They're veritable walking encyclopedias of statistics and data and information. And Susie started Muse School, which is a 100% plant-based school there in Calabasas. Very cool place. I mean, like amazing place. You wished every school could be like that. And it could if we all just demanded it. That's such a great example of what can be done. And then James is so just an incredible brain, incredible mind, engineering, and he's got all these, things that he creates and innovates and whatever, having to do with the environment, how we can take care of the environment. So it was kind of a really well-rounded education we received, as we went through this journey and produced this.
It is very dense. You learn a lot. It's because I've seen it twice, so I'm excited to see it again. We're going to see it on April 5th, my husband's birthday too, so that's even more excitement.
Oh.
So tell us, so you had a little hiccup with the distributor and hence the year kind of different thing, but now we're really coming out in 600 theaters, April 5th. So tell us how that came about. I'm very excited about that because we have a mutual friend.
Fathom Vets is launching at 600 theaters. Thank goodness to Dan Burgess came along, our executive producer, and really has helped bring the film full circle. I mean, he's really helped bring it around to where I think now we're going to be able to get the platform out there, the message out to the masses in the way that we've wanted to be able to do from the beginning. That's just when you make some decisions. Sometimes you get into a situation or relationships that aren't the best for the film. But now finally, I think that's taken care of. So we feel blessed to have Dan on board and have him promoting the film the way he is.
I think it's really unusual, actually, for in the film industry, to have an executive producer that is so keyed in and so intimately involved and passionate
about the message.
And since his own life was changed, through a whole food plant-based diet, I mean, there's a level of connection then and team, feeling a team that I think most filmmakers would be incredibly envious of, if they were to be able to know they could have that relationship with their executive producer. And for that, we're just incredibly blessed, and we're so excited for other projects moving forward, because Eating You Alive is not the last one by far. It was the first, but certainly not the last. So we're looking forward to the new projects we're putting together.
I've heard a little bit about your project. It's very exciting. So Dan, who I just interviewed last week and talked about, and of course we have mutual friends because I work with him at the Journal, and it's kind of interesting how this all comes full circle.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool.
Yeah, there's some great things.
It's so wonderful. So I did have a question. So when you were creating this film and this whole time and you're seeing this, Did you ever think that lives would be changed like that? I mean, it's one thing to get your self-education and you're thinking, did you ever start thinking about like what the audience ripple effects would be? I mean, because I know I never really thought about what I was doing with the patient was be right in front of me. For example, last week I got an email from an old patient in Colorado who helped a friend of hers after I had helped her transition to the diet, who reversed her lupus, lost 108 pounds, and now this person's helping other people. So I'm just like astounded. That is just, it never ceases to impress me or humble me with this message, and continues to push, my energetic to keep moving and going forward. Did you ever realize the profound effect it could have?
I'll just go quickly. That's the goal we had. That's the dream we had. That's what we wanted. Because again, we knew how much it impacted us personally. So, we were filmmakers, so that's what we could do. So that's what we did. We had no idea whether it would see the light of day, whether anybody would ever see it, when it was finished, if anybody would care to see it. But you do it. And so there's not words to really express how blessed that I feel, and Merrilee can speak for herself, but how blessed I feel to get emails back and to hear from people whose lives have been changed, even if it was just my family that see the film and they decide, hey, this is interesting. I think, but it is. It's absolutely amazing, and far beyond what we ever really dreamed that it would be.
I mean, also, so 600 theaters across the country. Can you give us an idea, okay, the website? I mean, of course, I'll put the links and everything, but go ahead and can you share with the audience where that is and what they should be looking for?
Absolutely. EatingYouAlive.com. Obviously, you can find locations on there and links to purchase tickets online in advance and all kinds of other good things. There's research material on the website and recipes. It's a great place to stop as you're looking for other things as well. And then fathomevents.com/eatingyoualive as an event is where people can purchase tickets as well. I think we're on Fandango and everything else because 600 theaters is a lot, actually. I think that's considered a broad release as an industry standard. And I believe this is the first time a film of this nature has ever seen that broad release theatrically. And I think it's a sign of the times. It's not about us at that point. It's not a pat on our back. I really think that the timing is right. People are hungry for answers and solutions. And so this is coming at the right time when people are more open to it. So I really think that we believe this presents an opportunity to the plant-based world, to the people who've already discovered all the benefits, to really come together as a united front and invite the larger community around them to be introduced to the lifestyle in this way, and then to offer themselves up as local resources there to all the attendees. That's what we really desired for an event like this.
Amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, and I'm so excited to be a part. I haven't approached the theater where we're going. I'll have to ask and see if they do Q&A afterwards. I'm not sure. But as far as, I've kept you guys almost an hour. So is there anything else that you would like to share here with the audience? You've had some great, crazy year, but it's ending on an amazing note. Well, this journey, I guess, is just beginning, honestly. It seems like it was kind of building up, and then, wow, this is incredible, like you never would have expected. Is there any final maybe advice or suggestions or anything? People I think should definitely buy tickets in advance and bring a friend and bring a family member that you would like to share this incredible life-saving message with. Anything else?
I don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to jump all in. For the people who are coming to see the film, I know there's a lot of fear attached to making changes, no matter what those changes are. Whether you're changing a job or changing places that you live or whatever, there's always fear attached to that. This is one where you need to try and push through any fear, because there is so much waiting for you on the other side. You're going to be unbelieving about how good your life can be with this one small change. And I would just encourage people to keep an open mind and don't be afraid to jump all in.
That's a good one. Anything else, Paul?
Yeah, for me, I always tell people that, health, if you don't make time for your health will make time for itself. So you have the option right now to kind of embrace making a change just for a short period of time. Don't look at it for the rest of your life. Just make the change for 2 weeks. That's nothing. Just make it 2 weeks and see what you feel like. And if you like the way you feel, it's probably going to push you to go a little bit further. And next thing you know, you're going to be like me, and you're going to be 4 years downstream and wondering, I haven't been to McDonald's in 4 years, and it's great. And so that's what happens. And I want to see everyone do that. Go whole hog, no pun intended, but go all the way with it, just for at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You'll love the results. If you don't love me, go get a steak. Do whatever you want to do. It's your life. But at least give it a shot. That's the message we want to convey to everyone. And hope that they'll come see the film and just approach it with an open mind. We're not trying to push anything on anyone that they have to do something. It's for them. It's not for me. It's not for anyone else but themselves.
I think that's fantastic advice. Go all in. No excuses. Just do it, because really they don't know what's on the other side until they actually experience. We can tell them all we want, but they have to really, eat the right foods and see what happens. It's literally 2 weeks is great. I love to see 3 to 4 weeks, because I really think people can get over the hiccups of someone just, can I do this every day? And I will say, athletes, young people, old people, everyone can benefit. This has zero negative side effects. I've been doing it for 6 years with many, many, many patients, as many other doctors have, and never had one negative effect, and only positive. Every single patient's been positive. No drug can do that. So I think that's exactly right.
There's not very many guarantees like that, for sure.
I agree. There's certainly nothing else in medicine like it. And I do want to say thank you again for taking time out of your day and sharing your fun story with us. And I can't wait to see, again, the more ripple effects. You guys are going to be inundated with emails after 600 theaters. I hope you have some personal assistants to help with that.
And where do you think we're getting all our great stories for the next one?
Oh my gosh, that is a great idea. That's fantastic. So absolutely.
Yeah, so second serving. That's what we're going to call it.
What are you going to second serving?
The second serving.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I love it. You guys are good. You guys are really good.
We have a lot of fun with it, so
You guys are always so fun to talk to. Oh goodness. Well, thank you again, and I appreciate you both.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.